Yeah, but no one can really hear you. But hold on. Okay, hold on. Hello, everybody. I don't know who's here, who's not, if, when, how, but I am here, Tony Perks, and we're doing a little different kind of content. First, I want to shout out to my Vegeta poster in the back. Shout out to my friend Dustin. His girlfriend made it for me. Great artist. I gotta shout that out. Um, but yeah, I want to do some review content, and we're gonna get right into it in about 30 seconds. All right. So if you guys are here and if you can hear me, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. I just want to make sure that the audio is good and that you can hear, because I don't want to do this and then, there's no audio or you guys look at my lips talk and nothing's going on. All right. So let me know. I'll wait for a minute while you guys do that. Okay. 1 second, guys. All right. Hello. Oh, good. All right. Lit. Okay. Lit. Alrighty, let me make sure. I'm gonna check the stream to make sure I can hear myself, because this is my first live stream on the channel. So I'm gonna double check and make sure that we can see this. Oh yeah, here we go. I'm here. Let me make sure. I'm gonna check the stream to make sure I can hear myself. All right. Well, anyways, let's get started. I got a few videos I want to go over. And just to give you a little context, I haven't watched any of these videos. These came on my recommended and things I started to watch a little bit, maybe like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And I haven't watched them. So we're going to get into it and kind of see where this goes. And we'll see what kind of content comes from here. But the first video, now mind you, I'm not really into politics like that. Well, I say I'm not, but people who know me, I guess, think I am. But I'm not really into politics. It's not my thing, I guess. But I guess I do discuss topics that are in politics quite often. But I'm not really into politics where in the whole government and officials and, the laws that they're making. I'm not really into that. I guess lately I've been starting to get more into this. But if you were to ask me a year ago, even 6 months ago, I probably wouldn't even have as much knowledge as I do now. But I've been getting more intrigued into it. I don't know why. I've honestly hated politics my whole life, and now I'm kind of just listening more. So let's get into this video. The video is titled "Rand Paul Humiliates Whoopi Goldberg to Her Face After She Asked a Stupid Question." So I don't even know what the question she's going to ask is or what this is even about. I don't know if it's like a president thing or I have no idea, but we're going to find out. Let's get it together. Let's go.
Owner. I don't mind that you know that I have a gun. You can come in my house and look for you. You can get all whatever you need. I don't understand why anyone objects to getting rid of automatic weapons. Automatic weapons, they're not for hunting. They do nothing. They're only there to kill. And you'll notice that a lot of the things that have happened with automatic weapons. When we see that, why don't we say, who really needs to have one other than people who are at war?
So she's pretty much saying like these automatic rifles are war weapons, right? That's the gist I'm getting. And who should have weapons that are used for war? So here's my thing though. Just starting off this way. Weapons are used to do what? Like, what are guns used to do? Shoot something, hurt something, stop something, right? So technically every weapon, every gun is considered a weapon of war, because every gun could be used in war to kill somebody or win the battle, right? So, and with the whole, these guns are war guns, or I guess how she's saying, like war guns in that sense. Dude, every weapon would be a war gun. So, and here's the other part. If this is why this doesn't make sense. Why would I ban it if people are still going to do illegal things to get it? And if they have it and I don't have it, I'm screwed. So banning it doesn't stop it from happening. I mean, if you look at every single law, every law that we pretty much have, it's a law. It's for something that's banned to do, but yet people still do it consistently. That's why they get charged of crimes for it. So banning it doesn't stop it. It just gives you consequences for doing it, but it doesn't stop it necessarily. So I'm sorry, in my opinion, I'd rather have guns access and legal. So in the event that somebody does have it, I have that shit too. That's just how I feel about it, but I don't know. Let's see what they say.
Yeah, what is it about?
Truly automatic weapons we don't have. You know, we banned truly automatic weapons, I think, in
Right,
1934.
but we still got a lot of them around. Come
Yeah,
on,
well,
now.
what we have is not automatic weapons, so we have semi-automatic. So they fire in a fairly fast sequence, but you can't pull the trigger and they come like a machine gun. Those are no longer
but
out
you know
there.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know
what
what
it
I'm
is
saying.
is that there's a repetitive fire. People do hunt with them, and people do also shooting and sport shooting and target shooting and things with these guns. And come to Kentucky, and I'll introduce you to. There are a lot of people who like and enjoy this as a sport. But the other problem is if we're going to take away ownership of specific types of guns, you really have to modify something that big as to either be legislation or even possibly a constitutional amendment. We can't allow one individual to do it. And here, I'll give you an example why. Let's say we had a terrible president that you didn't like from another party, and that president said, The View, you should hear the things they're saying on The View. We should limit their speech. We should register the journalists, and then we should have an approval board. And, you know, that's silly. We would all be opposed to that. But that's the danger of letting a president make the rules. Even if you agree with what he's doing now, you should worry about having a president have so much power to create the law without Congress doing it.
He's gone in a couple. I'm sorry, man. There's no reason anybody needs to have an automatic weapon. I'm sorry. I get everything else.
I can see why I would need automatic weapon. You know why? To protect myself from people that get it illegally. That's why. And semi-automatic weapons are legal at this point, but my view is more like if everybody had guns, then it would be less likely people to get shot. Because think about this. Not everybody, but if we made carrying guns, like in California, for example, you can open carry, right? If you open carry and you're in a bank, and a guy comes in to rob banks, says everybody get on the floor. You know, in California right now, you gonna get on the floor. There's no concealed carry permits unless you're pretty much an officer and you're security enforcement, or if you're in the military or something like that. I don't even know what the rules are for that. But I know with law enforcement, you're allowed to conceal carry, and maybe some security guards who have clearance are maybe allowed to. I'm not sure, right? You're exposed to being hurt because they have a gun and you don't. Now, if say the robber goes in the bank and says everybody get on the floor, and out of the 30 people that are in the building, 4 people have guns on them, maybe even 5. Let's say 2. Uh-oh. You would think the person would consider more going in and doing this, because the idea that there's more of a possibility they're going to get shot and not make it would deter them more than anything. At least that's how I feel about it. But if I'm going to go rob somebody, I'm going to rob somebody who if I were to do it, I would go to places I know I can get away with it. And the place I can get away with it is a place that is essentially someone who doesn't have guns in their house, or is leaving their stuff unlocked. It's easy to get to. I don't have to worry about anything. But if I know that everybody has a gun, or if people do have guns for sure, you know, it's gonna be a much different situation going in. So with the semi-automatic stuff, I don't know. The automatic stuff, I guess they're not on the market anymore and stuff like that, like some machine guns, stuff like that. But with the semi-automatic, like the AR-15s and stuff, I don't see the big deal. I personally see the big deal because we had more armed people. I don't think there'd be as many people getting shot. That's just my opinion, but let's keep going.
We're going to jump in here and we're going to
want to get to this for sure. Kelly, you have written a book, and you talk about the ups and downs of the campaign trail and what gets you through those more difficult times, and those are your
Yes.
best friends. And so you've written True and Constant Friends, and I want you to tell us about those friends and what your book is all about.
Well, the book is about 6 women that I've been friends with from the very first week of my freshman year in college. And so we've known each other since we were 18 years old. And, you know, we've been through every stage of life together. We're now all 52 years old. And we've met every year for a reunion weekend since we graduated in 1985. We live all over the country. None of us even live in the same city. And so that connection, that sort of touchstone every year has been such a support system to me. We're all very different. We have different points of view. I mean, it's much like this. You just have this incredible sounding board. But down deep, we just have this amazing core of respect and love for each other. And that's just been so powerful to me. And I wanted to write about that friendship, but I also wanted to write about who inspired us and who made us who we are. And so the book goes back as much as 100 years with each friend. I write about my grandmother, and then I have them tell me stories of the women in their lives who really made them who they are. And through the experience of writing that book, I learned so much more about these friends that I never would have known otherwise.
Well, we want to thank you guys. I know
Well,
that.
let's ask one more thing about the mock turtleneck sweaters that you wear. You're apparently
We got to go,
famous for
Julie,
this.
actually.
I would have worn it today.
but-
I was told I couldn't wear it.
What do you, Mrs. Paul, what do you think about those? Just a yes or a no.
It's a good look, but we just want to say thank you for being great sports. You guys are a lovely couple.
We talked about his wanting to pull troops out of Syria, and everyone saying, if we do that, we're abandoning the Kurds. That's not a good idea. And a lot of folks are saying he crossed the line with a bad decision, but you don't say that. Why?
You know, one of the things I've always supported about President Trump is actually one of the things I liked about President Obama, that we said we were overextended, that the Iraq war was a mistake. I think it's one of the reasons President Obama beat Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton had supported the Iraq war. I still think the Iraq war, regime change in the Middle East, and these wars are senseless. So does President Trump. He doesn't want to get us involved in another Iraq war in Syria. If anything, Syria is more complicated. The other is a practical concern. You have 50 soldiers. They're talking about moving 50 soldiers. Who goes to war with 50 soldiers? You have 50 soldiers and tens of thousands of Turkish troops amassing. The Turks are also allies. The Free Syrian Army were our allies for 7 years. They're allied with the Turks. The Kurds have been our allies. The Kurds, in all likelihood, are now going to be allies of Assad to try to carve out a place in Syria for themselves. It's a really complicated question. I guess from my perspective, I say, any of these people out here, their kids have to go to war. War's not a chess game. People lose their limbs and people die, and I think it's the least we owe to the kids that we're going to send into this war. Why are we going to war, and who are we fighting?
But isn't there?
So,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So,
I mean, that's a good point. You gotta remember, like, these things are really complicated. And I'm not into politics, so don't shoot the messenger. I'm learning, and please teach me if I'm misinformed. But yeah, if this is something that's senseless that we don't really need to do, as like America as a country, and we have allies in these places, and then what he was saying in the beginning, like he has 50 soldiers compared to like 10,000 Turkish soldiers. Like, that don't even make no sense. What is the sheer numbers? It just doesn't make sense to. And you got to remember, we're sending our own citizens in there. Your husband or your brother or your son or your dad. These people are going in here to serve. Or your wife or your daughter or your mother. They serve in our country. So we got to really consider, like, do we want to be sending, are these people expendable like that for something that's not necessary? That's how I look at it. Like, are we, I don't know. Let's keep going.
if you have allies and they are working with you and fighting with you, and 24 hours somebody wakes up and says, "No, we're out."
Right.
Is that the right way to do this?
I think the way we look at war is we don't look at
No. Is that the right way to do
answer
it?
the question.
Okay.
She's trying to
When
trap
we
me.
decide whether or not we're sending our young people into harm's way, we should obey the Constitution, which says we should declare war and put them in a war theater. But let me finish.
Okay.
And here's the thing about it, is if you ask these people, Lindsey Graham and the Cheney war and all these warmongers that want to stay at war forever, who are we going to declare war on? They don't know who. We're going to declare war on Turkey, our ally,
Should we
the
ever
Free Syrian
walk
Army, our
out
ally?
in the middle? It's like walking
We
out.
should never be there in the first place.
That's not the question, though.
Okay, so he's pretty much saying, like, at this point, we shouldn't even been there at all. Like, Like, hold on, let me watch a little more.
That's all
But
good.
see, the left agreed
but
with
we're
me for
in
so
there.
many years. For so many years, the left agreed with me.
I am
that
neither
these
left
sen-
nor right. I'm just American. I want to know, should we be taking, should we be walking out on people
But here's the thing is, left and right have agreed in the past that regime change doesn't work. When we got rid of Hussein, we got chaos and more terrorism. When we got rid of Gaddafi, chaos and more terrorism.
But Senator,
it's
we're
incredibly
here now, though.
expensive as well.
But we're here.
Yeah. We're not really here. We got 50 people. We're not doing anything.
Hold on.
And that is why.
He said, we're not here. We have 50 people, bro. Like, real talk. Like, that's nothing. That's really, like, even the top trained in the world, like, the best 50 people in the world who are the top trained, most elite, the sheer number, it just doesn't matter. Like, you can be the best of the best of the best. It's not like, like the movie 300, where Leonidas, he's going to war with Xerxes and he sends only 300 men because the men were all the men in that civilization were trained to be warriors first and then their jobs. So even like 300 men, 300, the movie 300, this ain't a movie, bro. Like, you get your arm blown off like with the quickness. It's not like we can send 50 people over there, 100, 300, and then whoop ass, and that's just not how it really works. There's too much technology.
And you tell their parents
Turkey
that.
from invading.
You tell their parents
Isn't that true?
You tell the parents of those 50 kids how great the symbolism was when a suicide bomber blows up all 50
But
kids.
didn't it
You
keep
tell them
Turkey
why-
from
no,
invading?
No,
And
I'm not.
pulling them
No.
gave
You tell
Turkey
their
the
parents.
green light.
You tell their
Isn't
parents
that
why
true?
they're there.
But
You
isn't
tell-
that true?
You tell their parents why they're
Isn't
there.
it true that Turkey
You
did
tell
not
them
How do you
invade
feel about
Senator, we have
how do you feel about
So
the video that we're
actually-
seeing of the Kurds getting slaughtered?
I find the position of pulling out of these wars, that's a popular one, and I am there. There's a difference in having a strategy and leaving the Kurds there to die, which is where they are now. They are left there to die, and that is now, here's what I'd argue.
That's simply wrong.
It's the
That's simply
GOP's
wrong.
problem.
That's simply wrong in an
ISIS fighters,
accusation.
as being reported, thousands are going to escape from these prisons because the Kurds can't protect
Well, no, that
themselves.
is
Up
that
to
is
70,000,
the
according to a
people-
NATO
that's
official.
what's the people who don't like the
Is that a
policy?
safer world with
That's the
ISIS
people,
running around?
That's the people who want to stay forever. These are the same people.
I don't want to stay forever,
Let me
but isn't
finish
there a
answering the
strategy?
question.
Dude, you gotta let a guy talk. If you're interviewing him, like, I understand you getting, it's kind of a sensitive subject, but I mean, you gotta for a second, like, chill for a second. Let him get his answer out before you just, because it sounds like they like have their position and they're just trying to force it and they're not trying to listen. And I'm not saying that he's not doing it too, but he's letting them speak. And then when he goes to respond, he gets cut off. So, like, y'all need to, like, have some boundaries here. You know what I mean?
Okay, I let you talk. You let me talk. These are the same people. These are the same people that would still have us in Vietnam. These are the same people who always say, stay at war, stay at war, stay at war. It has not helped us. We've been in Afghanistan for 19 years. The same people complaining about this. The Cheneys, Lindsey Graham, you know what they say about Afghanistan? It would be precipitous to
How
send
about the
one
idea
more
of
kid to Afghanistan.
breaking our word as Americans, of breaking our words to our allies, of having people who've risked their lives, who've been there for years, and what message does that send internationally to other allies if we abandon them?
I think the only duty we owe and the only oath I take is to the
the
Constitution.
United States.
I didn't promise to take the country to war. I promised not to take the country to war. So did President Trump, by the way.
And but the Constitution says protecting you from enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yeah.
And there's many of us who feel that this puts us in greater danger because of what it means vis-a-vis ISIS. I mean, we're not alone on this planet.
And anybody who tries to make the argument that someone in Syria is a danger to our country is really not paying attention.
Oh, I think Assad is in Syria and is a hell of a danger to our country and our world.
Well, actually, if you look at the war's...
I mean, can you explain? I mean, this has been a good part to explain how is it bringing danger? Well, like I told you guys, I don't know a lot of stuff, so I'm just kind of learning this as I go. So I don't even, some of this is going past my head a little bit, but like, explain how it is. If you're going to make a statement that is bad, can you explain how it's bad or why it's detrimental or why it's going to affect or hurt Americans? Maybe I just don't know. Maybe I'm just not knowledgeable. I like I said, I'm not really into politics. I'm starting to get into it. But if you guys have something to teach me, please let me know. But yeah, I just want to know that. Like, what is it? What is it? Like, let's answer the question.
was very complicated. So you had Assad on one side. On the other side, you had Sunni extremists, Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra. These are the people that have been allied with the Saudi version of Islam that has been promoting Islamism and Islamist strategy around the world and jihadism. That was the side of the war we were fighting. So if that side of the war actually won, I think we actually might be in more danger. I don't like Assad, but the other people on the other side are Sunni extremists that I don't like either.
How close is too close for Iran to be near Israel? Because this now creates a huge vacuum where Iran wants to take over Damascus, which is what they're now going to be capable of doing, and they're going to be that much closer to Israel, which is in fact one of our closest allies. Does that concern you at all?
I think the whole situation is so confusing that none of us are really getting this right. Actually, Turkey doesn't want Iran to take over everything. Israel doesn't want Iran to take over everything. And in fact, Israel actually stands up for themselves all the time.
They may end up being in a bigger war.
Let me finish. Don't interrupt. So Iran gets up against the border.
Wow. Okay. Like I said, I'm new to this stuff, so I don't really know the details of Iran and who's and what or why. But it is interesting to see this dialogue go back and forth. The one thing I would say is, if you're making a point, can you back up your point with evidence that supports it? And if you are going to, interview somebody, let them speak and actually answer fully before you just jump in and cut them off. Because I don't know this guy. I don't know who he is. Real talk. But he had in my opinion, he has some pretty decent points. I will say that. But at the same time, if you're getting cut off left and right, or, you just like, come on, bro. Come on. So yeah, I think, I don't know. We're going to see. I'm just, like I said, I'm just kind of starting diving into this whole, politics kind of scene a little bit. And I know it's totally not for skateboarding. And there will be some skateboarding a little bit later. But these are things I'm still interested in, and I'm kind of learning. So I want to kind of, dive in this journey more. But another video I found, I haven't watched the video either. I don't know if you guys know who Dr. Jordan Peterson is. He's a world famous clinical psychologist out of Canada. And he really got most famous because there was a law that was trying to be passed in Canada for the law to pretty much mandatory use of pronouns. And pronouns is like he, she, her, blah, blah. And he was pretty much against it in his university that he was teaching at. And they were pretty much trying to force him to either bend and fire, but he was getting fired. And he was like, I'm not gonna sign the mandate to state this because it goes against free speech. But anyways, this video is talking about Jordan Peterson, and he's talking about the danger of taking too much responsibility. So let's get right into it, and we'll see how it goes.
Is to actually release the tiller, and it allows
Let me start it over.
Is it possible to have too much responsibility, to take too much responsibility for yourself? Like, one thing that I've been thinking is that the victim mindset where you believe that you have no control over the outcome.
Sorry, there are some comments that came in. I can't read them fully yet. I'm looking at my phone to read the comments, so I will go through a couple of them. Let's see. So this is on the first topic we were talking about earlier. So I'll actually be monitoring this more often so I can see who's chatting in. But they said basically every gun is semi-automatic, which is true, and semi-automatic doesn't matter. A regular handgun is semi-automatic, and those are just keywords the fake media talks about, which is true because if you think about it, every weapon is designed to do what? To stop something, to hurt something, to kill something or somebody. So automatic, semi-automatic, non-automatic, it's all the same shit. It's all the same shit. You're having destroying power, right? The last comment I see, it says, probably shouldn't talk about these things with women they don't let you. Oh, that's funny. Sometimes it's guys too, though. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen guys that will just not let you talk. They get emotional and they're just like, and then they just cut you off, and it's like, bro, like let me speak. But I'll be looking at the comments more often so I can actually chime in real time. So, all right, let's get back to this video. I'll start back from the beginning.
Is it possible to have too much responsibility, to take too much responsibility for yourself? Like, one thing that I've been thinking is that the victim mindset where you believe that you have no control over the outcomes in your life. I wonder whether there's an opposite where you believe that you have an infinite amount of control over them and you lose faith in your innate ability to just carry you through. I've been thinking a lot about releasing the tiller, which is a Jed McKenna quote. And he's talking about the fact that the best way to ride a boat through a storm is to actually release the tiller, and it allows the boat to maneuver best through the swells. And I think that a lot of the time, going back to the imposter syndrome thing that we were talking about, as you start to accumulate more and more competence, the higher level of overthinking, the higher level of neuroticism, the more of an attention to detail that got you from 0 to 50 isn't necessarily the thing that's going to get you from 50 to 100. You know, you had to get across a river and it was bad and difficult. You don't need to carry that boat across ground to then get you across the next one. And I wonder whether the opposite of a victim mentality where you take responsibility for the things that occur in life, I wonder whether you can overshoot that.
You can, for sure.
Well, one thing I'll say regarding what he's talking about, when he really perked up, is a victim mentality. And I find that so interesting. I find it highly interesting. I'm a black man, right? Let me pull this screen up. I'm a black man, okay? And there's been things that have been done to me in my past that were clearly racism, right? And you could always, as growing up, there's a narrative that I've heard that, you know, people are holding you back. People are not going to let you advance. People will, you know, never let you get ahead in life. And it was nothing that my mom ever taught me. She never really ever taught me to view life that way. I'm a Christian. I believe in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And she was a devout Christian, but she never really taught me being a victim necessarily. She pretty much always told me if I can do anything. If I set my mind to it, I can do it. And I find it so odd because I've heard a lot of talk, and this is just my point of view. But I've heard a lot of talk in my community from the people I've been around. That's not saying my whole community. That's not saying as a whole, but in the circles I've been around, I've heard a lot of people talk about that same thing, how, you know, white people will hold you back or you can't get ahead, and someone got ahead because of X, Y, and Z. And I just find it so interesting because for my circumstance, I should be unsuccessful. I was adopted. I was I was in foster care until the age of like 16 or 17. I was in the system. I didn't have two parents in the household. Had single mother who was raising me. Own parents couldn't for circumstantial reasons. And I still made something of myself. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, other circumstances are harder, but at the same time, I never was raised to believe I was a victim. And I've heard these topics. I heard them as a kid, you know, around the grapevine, but I was never taught it like that. So for me, I just don't believe in the whole, I know that there are victims, and I'm not saying there's not victims. But as for me, I don't feel like I'm a victim in any way, shape, or form. I just refuse to believe that. I just think that I can do whatever I set my mind to, and if I really want to do it, nobody is going to stop me. And that's it. And yes, of course there's roadblocks. Of course there's hurdles and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to let that stop me if it's something I really want to do. So, anyways, let's see what Jordan Peterson has to say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, Dostoevsky said that every man was responsible for everything he did and for everything that everyone else does, which is kind of an insane statement, but also somewhat it's true in a certain sense. You do have an indefinite responsibility, and you do have an indefinite capacity to bear that responsibility, but that doesn't mean it can't be crushing. And then I would say the antidote to that is that you're not in this alone. As your responsibilities mount and your opportunities increase, you have to delegate more and more. There's enough for every...
I can understand that.
It's important that you do everything you can, but there's enough for everyone to do.
Yeah.
And so you might say, well, the heroic path is one that leads to universal redemption, and that's true. And you might say, well, that's all on you. It's like, it is in a sense, but then the problem that you just described comes up.
Shouldering too much burden.
Well, it can crush you. It can be unsustainable. Right? You can torture yourself for not doing it well enough. And it is up to you, but it's not up to you alone. It's not up to you alone. So you delegate, and you help build people around you so that they're all working in the same direction. It's an effort multiplier in any case. And you make sure that they get credit. They get credit isn't exact. Credit's good enough. It's not exactly right. The rewards are in accordance with their efforts, and you can distribute that, because there's also a narcissism that can come along with that, which is, well, it's all up to me. And even if you're working in a very competent manner, it can seem that way, but there's plenty of work to go around, and there's plenty of credit where credit is due. And so what you do as you attain more responsibility and opportunity is you delegate more of that, and you do that continually. I mean, one of the roles of a good manager is to make him or herself irrelevant.
Obsolete, yeah.
Yeah, right. So if you're not a good manager, if your company would collapse if you disappeared.
I totally agree with that part. With the, you're not a good manager, you're not a good leader. If you were to stop working, then the company would fall apart. Because that means you weren't able to duplicate yourself. You weren't able to train people correctly. You weren't able to put them in positions where they're going to succeed. You weren't able to see their skills and place them in the right spot. You know what I mean? And then be able to teach them the game correctly. I really agree with that. It takes a very special kind of person to be able to do that, which would be a good leader. But the best leaders are able to duplicate themselves so they don't have to do it. Because if you're just the person, then you're essentially a one-man band, and if you ain't there, it doesn't get done. So, yeah.
That should all be delegated out. And it's not because you're abdicating responsibility, because also what happens is that if you can routinize something and parse it off to someone else, say, here's a little kingdom for you, and it doesn't have to be little, and it's something that can grow, but here's a kingdom for you, well, then you can go off and do the next thing you need to do, which is extremely important. And you might think there's a kingdom, and then it's broken into little kingdoms, and so the farther you are down the hierarchy, the smaller the kingdom you get. But that's only true if you think the world's a zero-sum game, because you could also think of it as a place with an indefinite number of the largest kingdoms possible. And I think, why do we think this is exhaustible in some sense, what we're doing? It doesn't look exhaustible. That's the limits to growth mentality. It's like, economists don't believe in that, because they think, well, no, we can just get more efficient, which we certainly are. We're way more efficient than we once were. And those gains in efficiency, when they're not being interfered with, are increasing at more than an arithmetic rate.
Why do you think people have a tendency toward that zero-sum mentality? When I find myself thinking that, it's one of the first things that I check myself on. That is cancer.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are elements of life that have a zero-sum element. I mean, if you're competing with another man, for example, to marry a particular woman, that's a zero-sum game if you only think of the game as including you two and that woman. So you can set up circumstances that are zero-sum, but...
And then port them across into situations which aren't.
Yeah, well then, but to take that metaphor of zero-sum game, where there has to be winners and losers because there's a finite number of resources, is to assume that the rules of that game are the rules that govern the set of all games.
Right.
And that's just not true. Games are infinitely multipliable. I mean, you can invent a new game. People do that all the time. The man who invented Catan, which is a game I really like to play, It's a very popular board game. That didn't
Never heard of
exist
it.
until he invented it. Now, thousands and thousands of people play it, and he made a fortune from it. It's like that game never existed. So there doesn't seem to be any limit to the number of games we can invent. And it's a complicated problem because we
This dude's
are
so
on a
smart.
single planet, and some resources are more zero-sum than others, but we haven't really run into any actual zero-sum limits in terms of our, the probability of us living an abundant life on the planet. We've stewarded some resources very stupidly. We've done a very bad job of managing oceanic production, for example. Although fish farms have alleviated that on the production side to some degree, but it's a tragedy of the commons that we could address and should address, as far as I'm concerned. One of the good things the Trudeau government...
One thing, going back to more in the beginning when he was talking, I think it is true. Like, I think there's one thing is that, because the title is The Danger of Taking on Too Much Responsibility. But I think for me personally, the danger of that is you get burnt out and you can't go on. You know what I mean? Oh, they said Catan is actually a fun game. I've never actually heard that game before. Let me look it up really quick while we're here. Catan. About the game. Women and men of your expedition build the first two settlements. Fortunately, yet inhabited land is rich in natural resources. Is it kind of like a game of like, kind of like a natural resource game, and like the first people to get there kind of have the best odds of winning? Okay, let's see. Women and men of your expedition build the first two settlements. Fortunately, the yet inhabited land is rich of natural resources. You build roads and settlements that eventually become cities. Will you succeed in gaining supremacy on Catan? Barter trade dominates the scene. Some resources you have in abundance, and other resources are scarce. Ore for wool, brick for lumber. You trade accordingly to what is needed for your current building. This actually sounds like a really good game to play, because it'll really teach you about the skills of barter and trading, and how to manage your your resources well. Because you gotta think, like, you might have hundreds of bricks, but then you might need to use wood particularly for this thing, but you don't want to get rid of all your bricks. You know what I'm saying? So sounds like an interesting game. I would definitely check it out.
Government has done, I think, to give the devil his due, let's say, is to put a lot of the coast of Canada into marine protected areas, and that's smart. And we have to be smart about our resources, but that doesn't mean there's zero sum, and certainly doesn't mean the world is a zero sum game. And that's a Malthusian idea, that population will grow till it consumes all available resources and precipitously collapse. And then why do we think apocalyptically? It's, well, because things do come to sudden ends. People die, people get fatal illnesses. Like, the world you so carefully constructed can be blown apart at any moment by a random occurrence, genetic mutation that causes the cancer that kills you. Life has a fundamentally apocalyptic aspect. And
that's very true. Life does have a apocalyptic fundamental aspect. I like the word. I like the way he speaks. But low key is true, because you might be going across your day, you have your plans for your life, what you want to do, blah blah blah, and you want to go, family's in order, blah 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 blah, and then you fall and break your leg, and now you're not able to walk because you snapped your knee a certain way, and that ruins the plans you had of what you want to do in a blink of an eye. Like, literally, like, that's what happens in life. Like, life is completely not predictable. I mean, you can think it's predictable until it's not predictable, and you think it's the way you see the world, and then the reality is the world is the way the world is. So, yeah, I definitely think it's true that any situation can come and just blow up your whole livelihood. It's just unfortunate. It could be getting sick. It could be a death in the family. It could be, an accident. It could, there's so many things. You could end your relationship could end with your partner. So it's true. It is true.
And we do understand that because we're self-conscious, and then it's very difficult not to apply that kind of apocalyptic reasoning to things as such. The world's going to burn up. The climate's too hot. What about runaway positive feedback loops? Because that's what the climate types are afraid of. It's like, hey, they happen. How do we bind our apocalyptic thinking? That's a good question, man. That's a good question. We do that through truth. We do that with the truth. That's how we do it. Through dialogue, through investigation, through exploration, through discipline, all of that. The Logos is the antidote to the apocalypse. Of course, that's central Christian dogma, isn't it? That the Logos is the antidote to the apocalypse.
And I'm pretty certain that the Logos is love. I'm not 100%. I guess a Google search would actually tell me right now. Logos. No, it's L-A, sorry. It's L-A-G-O. Logos meaning. Let's do Bible. I love Google searching stuff. Reason, word, maybe Logos, reason, word, speech, or principle. I thought it was love, never mind. There's like 4 different types of love, like agape and a bunch of other ones, but anyways. But we'll stop right here. There's only a few more seconds left, but with the Logos and stuff, I agree in the free speech. Now, I agree that you should be able to say whatever you want. I don't think there should be a, this is how we think about how you solve problems. When a problem arises, you solve it by thinking and then communicating. And sometimes what you're thinking about might be absurd. Sometimes it might be crazy. Sometimes it might be like, what the hell? Like, how the hell did you get here? But through those trial and errors of thinking and communicating is where you find solutions. So, like, it's like if we were to put, like, if you take away free speech, you pretty much take away free thought. If you take away free speech, you take away free thought. Because your words are thoughts. It's like it wouldn't be fair to tell you, like think about when you have a problem and you start thinking about ways to do it, a lot of solutions will come up in your mind that will not be a benefit. But you weed through it by thinking about it, like understanding it. That doesn't work, okay, blah, blah, blah. And that's how we do as humans. We communicate the same exact way. We have an idea or have an issue, and then we communicate about it and then find if I was right in this area, or maybe I can tweak this a little bit more, or maybe like this is where I'm really seeing, you know what I mean? Like that's how you actually deal with problems. So to take away speech and to take away free speech to make it where you can't say certain things will be the collapse of a society, in my personal opinion. I love this guy, Dr. Jordan Peterson. He's super smart. Like he's just a freaking intellectual dude. Like I love this guy. Dang, we're already at 43 minutes. Damn, okay, for sure. Let me see. I got a couple more videos. I'll probably do one more and wrap it up because I don't want to be on here too long. It's my first time live streaming, and I need to go pee anyways. So, but yeah, I really think that like when you start trying to get rid of free speech and like you can say this and you can't say this, and mind you, I'm black, okay. There's a double standard that is in the black community because, as a black male, if I hear a white person saying the N-word, I'm gonna be like, you can't say this, right? And I know there's that whole, double standard. But I'm okay if someone were to say it. I might feel a certain way. I might be upset. I might want to retaliate, whatever the case may be. But I still agree with the freedom to say it. I still agree with the freedom to choose whatever you want to say. I don't think it should be illegal. I don't think it should be, where, you have to say certain things. It's like that's control. Like they're trying to control you. And I don't agree with that. Like it's free. It's speech. It's speech. Like, yeah, sometimes speech does hurt, but speech doesn't kill you unless somebody actually does and physically kills you. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know, but it is what it is. All right, the last video I'm going to watch, and like I said, this is a political video. It's of a guy named Tucker Carlson. He works for the Fox News. And the title is Are Black White House staffers fleeing for their lives? So I don't even, this came out on May 31st, and I don't even know what's going on with the White House with these black workers leaving, whatever. Don't know, I'm not sure. But let's go ahead and see what he's talking about. And like I said, with all these videos, I'm still a newbie and a novice, so if I'm wrong, I'm open to having dialogue. I'm open to discussing. I want to learn as much as I can. I don't really have a position on anything yet. I do on some things, but I'm always open to change my mind. My thing is, I'm willing to change my mind as long as your opinion makes sense. If you can describe it to me and it makes sense and it checks off every box to where I have doubts in, I have no problem changing my mind. But you just can't come up here and tell me some random BS and have no proof to back it up and think I'm going to just change my mind. That's all I'm saying. If you come with facts, you come with data, you come with proof, I have no problem changing how I look at it. But don't come to me with just your feelings and how you think about it or how you might be. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's get into it.
But the headline here is that the white supremacy in the Biden White House is so intense.
Oh, it's Joe Biden.
21 black staffers. Can there be more than 21 total? Not a huge staff at the White House. 21 black staffers have fled. Speaking of the new Jim Crow, Candace Owens is the founder of the charity Blexit. She's probably not surprised by this. She joins us tonight. Candace, are you surprised that the racism, the white supremacy at the White House is so intense that black staffers are fleeing for their lives?
I have to say I'm a little bit upset that I'm not involved in these strategy sessions at the White House. I just picture them all sitting around a table and just, quick, black people are waking up and they're not happy. Grab me an Asian and put him in front of the podium. We've got to shift here and shift gears completely on the PR strategy. I mean, this is actually what they're doing, right? Because black Americans, first and foremost, what's happening parallel to this is black Americans are waking up to the lie that was Black Lives Matter. So at the same time, you're having these black Americans that were quite literally just given these positions. They weren't meant to do anything. They never wanted them to actually do anything. They probably were underqualified for the positions that they even had. But the idea was...
Okay, so there's a couple of things of what she's saying, like about them being underqualified. That could be true, but we don't know. Like, there's a possibility that could be true. Like, maybe they were just put there because they're black, whatever. But we don't know if they're actually qualified or not. So it's hard to say, like, maybe, the possibility that they weren't qualified. But we don't really know. But I will say this. With the Joe Biden thing and why they're leaving, I mean, when look, this is how I look at it. I'm going to be straight up. If he told me, if I ain't voting for you, I ain't black, what the hell do you know about being black? To tell me that if I don't vote for you, I ain't what I'm been born into and been experiencing over the last 33 years of my life. That is the most, like, racist thing. I mean, okay, I heard Donald Trump, they always say he says stuff, and I've started watching more of his clips, but what I've actually done was I started watching the actual footage, not just the clips that they show you, and a lot of the things he was saying was never even racist at all. But I'm looking at this, and it's like, clearly, a dude coming out saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. How the hell are you supposed to tell me how it is for me to be black or not? And how do you decide if I don't vote for you? That's some crazy ass shit. That's some outlandish, crazy ass shit that I will never agree with. I will never agree with. Like, that alone, I'm not fucking with you. Excuse my language, but I ain't dealing with that. Nah. If you can come on TV and tell me if you don't vote for me, you ain't black, you must be out your goddamn mind. So I never once agreed with him in general. But yeah, but going back to her point though, if we don't know if they were qualified or not, we just don't know. And, we can't assume that just because of things that we've been experiencing in our past. We can't assume that they're not qualified or not. So to say that, Candace, I just, I don't agree with that part, but I can see where you're coming from. It could be true, but I don't agree.
oh, look, we're getting on our knees, literally, if you're Nancy Pelosi, to the Black Lives Matter narrative, right? Remember, she did that notorious bow and got down on one knee. And we're going to do this and show you that we're going to hire a bunch of black people, but we don't actually care what they think. We just need them to sit there and be black. Now the black Americans in the White House are waking up and going, you know what, that's not okay with me. And they're frantically searching. It's just an absolute, complete joke.
Is there anything more destructive than white liberal guilt? It feels like it's hurt more people than nuclear weapons.
What the fuck? What is white liberal guilt? Like, I've heard this term a couple of times in the last week or so. What is white liberal guilt? Like what? Like, I wish, can someone explain that? Because I don't know what the hell that is. Like, white liberal guilt. What is it, like liberal guilt for black people or something like that? Or like, what is it? What's the issue? Like, I don't know. It just, I'm really confused. If maybe you can tell me, that'd be great, because I'm really just curious about it. Anyways, let's go.
It really has, and people are starting to see that. Even Patrisse Cullors, right, the person who started Black Lives Matter, basically said, well, it's not my fault that you guys gave me your white guilty dollars and I lied about what I did with it and bought myself an entire real estate empire, and that's the truth. So it's not just black Americans that need to have an awakening, it's white Americans. You know, you have to stop allowing people to manipulate you emotionally and tell you that you're a bad person just because you're born a certain color. And hopefully we're going to start to see that as we head into this election cycle.
People who hate themselves are not good leaders. Weak men and unhappy women.
I agree.
That's the Democratic Party. Candace Owens.
Absolutely.
Neither.
Wow, I really like Candace Owens. Like, I do. I like her. Some people, you know, how do I put this? Some people disagree with her completely, when that's fine. I think it's fine to have disagreements. I think it's fine to have a different opinion. But I really like her. I like what she stands for. I like what she's talking about. So far, she's making sense of everything. Yeah, I like her a lot. I do wonder why these black folks are leaving, though. I really don't know. Like, if what she's saying is true, and they were just hired because they're black and not qualified, that's a huge fucking problem. Because, like, you got to think about it. You're putting people who are not qualified just because of their race, their sex, whatever, into a position that they can't even do. And then they're going to fail for sure. So it kind of defeats the purpose. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I understand that there was some points in America where, you know, there was segregation and you couldn't get certain jobs or whatever because of your race. And, you know, I hear people talk about that still to this day. And I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak from my experience and my personal experience. I have gotten jobs and things for things I was never qualified for. And it wasn't because I was black. It was because I had a good personality and outlook and I was honest. And they told me, even at jobs I've gotten that I wasn't qualified for, it was because I was honest, I had integrity, and I was willing to be authentic about when I was wrong or not. So for me personally, and I can't speak for anybody else but myself, but I haven't really experienced that, you know, being held back for being black. I personally haven't experienced it. I mean, I've heard people say racist things to me for sure. And I've heard, you know, I've had cops pull me over for shit, you know, that wasn't even true and just try to pin shit on me, whatever. But it's very far and few that's happened to me. So I can't speak for anybody else, but for myself, look, at the end of the day, I can do anything that I put my mind to, and no one's going to stop me and accept myself. So if I let them tell me, it will stop me. If I let them dictate what's going to happen, it's going to stop me. I can choose not to listen to the people that are naysayers. But going back to her point, if it's true that they were hired in there just because they're black, that's a huge problem. That is a huge problem because people are getting jobs for stuff that they can't even do, or they're not even in the position to. Now, mind you, going back to the point I was talking about, my job I got hired for, I was not qualified for, but they saw that I was able to learn to do the job. So they saw that the skills that I had could fit in the area of the job. I just didn't have the experience or the qualification for it, but I also had the personality to deal. So it's a little different. But anyways, what are you guys' thoughts about all this content? I don't know if you guys like this style or not. I don't know. This is I'm just kind of trying stuff. This is the stuff I kind of like listening to now. So if you do like it, hit that thumbs up button, you know what I mean? Because it helps me. And if you want to help me out, hit the thumbs up button on the like, you know what I'm saying? And help your boy out if you want to help me. That really helps. Go ahead and shoot a comment in here. Let me know what you like, stuff you didn't want to listen to. They're working on this channel and kind of creating a place where we can have all types of discussions. So I want to get into politics. You know, I want to definitely talk about the LGBTQ at some point, talk about the transgender community, you know, talk about the Me Too movement, the men, all that stuff, women's rights, yada, yada, yada. So I'm very open to all this kind of stuff. So I'm really curious to hear your feedback and your opinion. So if it works, let your boy know. All right. Until next time, guys, I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to the stream. Love y'all. Peace, love, and hair grease. We out this piece. Shout out to Vegeta. You know what I'm saying? That's Prince of all sayings right here. Hey, and respect the name. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting tired of Dragon Ball Z, and they always shortcut my dude. Total Cyber really quick before I go. But if y'all Dragon Ball Z fans, y'all need to know how they treat Vegeta. We need to not boycott, but we need to actually tell them, like, yo, we need to do something about this shit, you know? So, anyways, appreciate y'all. Peace, love, and hair grease. Till the next one. We out of here.